Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we will be tackling about costing and pricing your tourism business. So, what is cost allocation? Cost allocation is the process of identifying, accumulating, and assigning cost to specific cost objects. A cost object can be a specific product or product line, a particular service you offer, a production-related activity, or a department or division in your company. Cost allocation helps determine which part of the business are responsible for which costs. This can distribute responsibility for spending and expenses equitably across parts of an organization. Individual business units can then use this information to make important business decisions. Types of allocated cost. When allocating costs, it's important to know the type of cost your organization associates with the selected cost objects. Here are some of the most common types of cost you may use in your cost accounting processes.
So next is the fixed cost. So fixed costs are the expenses that remain consistent when other factors change. So for example, rent or loan payments are fixed because they don't usually change from month to month. Fixed costs usually relatively easy to connect with specific cost objects, and they can be direct or indirect. So another example of fixed costs are salary of your employee, rent of the place, and other stuff. So next is the variable cost. So variable cost change based on factors such as market conditions and production. For example, think of a toy company that produces a toy car featuring plastic pieces. If there's a shortage of plastic material for a short period, the production cost for the toy may increase. So if there's something nga magtaas sa presyo sa imong business or sa production, these are called the variable cost. Next is the operating costs. This, which some people also refer to as overhead cost, so can be either fixed or variable. So they relate to company's daily functions. For example, operating costs can include sales, marketing, and travel costs.
So the next one is direct costs. A business professional can connect a direct cost with an identifiable cost object. For example, you may consider the materials and labor that are necessary for a product's production. These are direct costs because they result in a tangible cost object. Indirect costs. Indirect costs are expenses that contribute to production without a direct connection to any particular cost object. For example, you can consider rent, utilities, and office supplies. These costs are necessary for production, but a company doesn't usually associate them with a specific cost object. So to explain, direct costs are expenses that directly go into producing goods or providing services. So, for example, nag-rent ka ani nga place for your business, like milk tea. So, ang kinahanglan sa imong milk tea is mga ingredients para mahimo ang milk tea. So, mao na siya direct cost para mahimo ang imong product. So, whereas indirect costs are general business expenses that keep you operating. For example, rent, utilities, general office expenses. So, kung kanang business ka, if wala kay kuryente, so, dili mo run imong business. So, indirect cost na siya as dili man na siya ang muproduce sa imong product. So, mao na siya ang difference. So, there's a simple trick to classifying payments as direct or indirect costs. So direct costs encompasses the cost involved with creating, developing, and releasing a product or service. And indirect costs are expenses that are not tied to a particular product. So now let us go to pricing strategy. So what is pricing strategy? Pricing strategy is the method you use to price your tours. Overall, this strategy should be based on your operating costs, market conditions, local competitors, and your desired profit margin. So, there are few common pricing strategies that are used in the tourism industry. But one common pricing strategy is called dynamic pricing. This is where businesses change their prices based on demand. So, for example, hotels will often charge more for rooms during busy times of the year and less during slow times.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the 7 tips for finding the right price for your tours and experiences. So first is identify your operating cost. Your operating cost will determine the absolute minimum you should be pricing your tours. This will include your fixed costs like rent, administrative cost, business software, equipment storage, and variable costs like wages for guides, cost of fuel, meals during tours, and commissions. Keep in mind that the more tours you sell, the higher your variable cost will be. Next is conduct market research. It is important to research your market to see what competitors are charging for their tours. You want your prices to be able to compete with similar tours offerings in your region. This will also give you an idea of what customers are accustomed to paying for comparable tours and experiences. Factor in your value-added services. Tour operators who offer value-added services like free parking, champagne on arrival, or discounted tickets for attractions, you can charge more for their experiences. You can justify a higher price if you offer services that bring additional value to your tours, especially if it's something your competitors don't offer. Next is adjust pricing depending on demand. Many tour operators adjust their tour pricing based on demand. You might price high during the holidays and price down during the slow season. Next is markup versus markdown pricing strategy. A markup pricing strategy ensures you're making a steeper profit on every sale compared to the markdown strategy, where you're using a lower price to attract a higher quantity of bookings. You might use the markup strategy during holidays when demand is high and upcharges are common. On the other hand, the markdown strategy would be a way to draw in more bookings during slower months. So the next one is know that your pricing probably won't be fixed. Your pricing will likely fluctuate with the market. Even if you feel you found the ideal prices for your tours, you should always keep tabs on your competitors' prices and overall market conditions. You want to make sure your prices remain relevant over time.